The CM Punk chant. It sounds like a chant for a wrestler, right? Nah. This chant means fuck you, be better.
I'm f***ing done with your bullshit game. I'm done.
This chant also means you really f***ed the dog on this one, pal. But mostly it means your insane corporation is out of touch and the people in charge are the stupidest souls imaginable. This chant was small at first, but over the years it grew to a point where it was impossible to ignore. It was the last great rebel movement in all of entertainment, and it happened in wrestling. This is CM Punk, isn't punk. Of course it's a wrestling chant for a wrestler, but what I find interesting here is that CM Punk left wrestling like decades ago. Well, not decades, but like almost a decade ago. The wrestling fans know he's not coming back, and they still chant his name. They know he's not coming back, but that's not what it's all about. Hardcore wrestling fans love wrestling so much that it's the only thing they care about. They need wrestling in their life. And now they have this weapon. And that weapon is the CM Punk chant, and it can be used anytime that they don't like something. This chant had a power that the fans had never felt before. It could interrupt, insult, and influence all simultaneously. It can deflate tension and suck the immersion away from the audience. It's intentionally disruptive. CM Punk went from being an outsider outlaw backyard wrestler all the way to being one of the most popular stars in all of wrestling. That's notable because big wrestling hates outlaws. He was never supposed to make it, but his wrestling skills and his talking skills got him all the way to the Fed, where he was no longer the big dildo on the shelf. Now he was in a schlongathon with Big Dick Batista and veiny tree trunk John Cena. There was no way Vince McMahon was gonna choose the dong with the Pepsi tattoo. Well, not compared to those magnificent phalluses anyway. And then came a whole summer of Punk and a huge, massive world title run. The fans were slobbering all over his knob, and Vince was just still doing hand stuff. Vince wouldn't put Punk in the main event of the main show. Vince McMahon was not treating his biggest star, his world champion, like a star. And CM Punk was pretty pissed off about this, obviously. And he wasn't shy. He was very vocal every time something sucked or was fucked up. Every time Vince McMahon fucked over CM Punk, the fans would rally behind him by chanting his name in support. This would be what would condition the fans into chanting his name anytime they were protesting something. Oh, you don't like the hot dogs? CM Punk! CM Punk! Oh, you think the direction of this angle is stupid and doesn't make sense? CM Punk! CM Punk! And everybody knows Vince McMahon is the most petty and spiteful little worm of a man. So what did he do? Instead of following the money and allowing CM Punk to be the star of his company, he fired the guy on his wedding day. After almost a decade, the chant basically just means, we're bored, and Vince McMahon finally managed to kill the chant because of this nice little convenient pandemic that just happened. There was no way he was gonna pipe in CM Punk chants when he knew his show was boring. But I don't think that this is the absolute death of the chant, because once fans come back into those arenas, they're bound to get bored, they're bound to get pissed off. These shows are like 1 million hours long, man. This weapon will sit in the holster of fans right beside the infamous what chant for decades to come. CM Punk was the scrappy underdog that fought and clawed and broke through every single glass ceiling that stood in his way. And believe me, there were a lot of them. And now he has a life where he can do what he wants, when he wants, and with whom he wants. He's got a cool wife, his house is filled with cool things that he likes, and he gets to hang out with Punk legend Lars Fredrickson. That's amazing. And I know what you're thinking. You're like, I thought this video was called CM Punk Isn't Punk, and all that sounds fucking punk as fuck if you ask me. And you're right, and you're wrong. CM Punk isn't punk. CM Punk is beyond punk.